Good deal.
So you tell me about it?
So we're just going to go first slide, this one,
All right.
and then I'll start the introduction. But let's see what he's going to.
Thank you, Martin. You did wonderfully. All right, good morning. Welcome to the first day of the 2024 American Gem Trade Association Tucson Elevated Seminar Series, sponsored by the American Gem Society. Our second session this morning is on redefining responsible sourcing with Jason, Kevin, and Mark. And Jason is going to do us the honor of introducing everybody, but Jason is a manufacturing jeweler and a teacher. He teaches all over the world. You're going to get a lot from these fellows. Kevin is the stone guy. Mark does a little bit of everything. I'm going to leave it to them, and we are going to find out what is new with responsible sourcing. I think it's going to be an absolutely outstanding event for you. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Me too. Gentlemen.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Marchiafava. I see a number of familiar faces in the crowd, but for those of you that aren't familiar with what I do in my background, quick introduction on the three of us. I'm a jeweler. I've been manufacturing jewelry for about 33 years. My passion is handmade high jewelry, no casting, no CAD. I do that for say half of the year. The other half of the year I work as an international consultant for mainly jewelry manufacturing facilities in a number of different countries. A part of that is teaching, some of it's advising, training, design, development, departments, that kind of stuff. Kevin, Croos Lambert, his expertise is rough and cut sapphires, specifically Sri Lanka.
Yep.
And then Mark Farrell, Buffalo Craft Company, his background is manufacturing as well. Also as far as like distribution, logistics, that sort of thing. So the three of us, I guess I'll rewind back to the beginning. Somewhere in about 2015 or so, I was working for a big brand in New York City, hosting special events in high jewelry. And the pieces of jewelry that I saw, I was thinking to myself that if the end consumer actually knew the people that touched it, where the things came from, there's a really beautiful adventure that ties it together that most people, when they look down at the ring that's on their finger, they have no idea the story behind it. And so my concept was every piece of jewelry that I made personally for my customers, I document the making process. So in my world, that's the metalwork, right? I go through all the steps, and some of you that follow my Instagram probably see some of that. But all the steps of the process, and then I compile that into a file, and I provide that to my customer at the time of delivery. So they have a very clear understanding as what we do. Didn't just pop out of a machine and little robots set the diamonds or something like that. Like, no, this is handmade. It took 200 hours to do, right? The thing that I couldn't wrap my brain around was, how do I get the story before the gemstones arrive to me, right? And then Kevin came into our lives. Kevin is an expert on rough and actually understanding of where it comes from, all of that. And I'll pass it off to him in a minute. But really, that was the piece that we were looking at, and COVID came. When COVID arrived, I spent some time thinking to myself, okay, so if this was the end, would I be satisfied with my life to date? And the answer was no. The one piece that was missing was, okay, what can we do to help people? End of the day, it's, it's people, it's culture, it's, love of our craft and all of that stuff. So immediately contacted these two and was like, okay, it's time. In the middle of the pandemic, we need to go to Sri Lanka immediately and just run, see how far we can get. So Mark, he flew, I have an office in Bangkok, Thailand. Mark got him out of the US and he did like quarantine and crazy stuff. And we all met up in my office in Bangkok. We planned out our Sri Lanka trip. We flew to Colombo, took a 3.5-hour public bus through to the middle of the jungle and climbed into holes in the ground. And really what it was about was to understand and really have a clear understanding of the people that we were sourcing our stones from, the culture, just everything that came around it, and what we could do for their community directly. Now, this isn't really about, say, us trying to tell you how to do what you do. This is us really trying to show you and give you creative ideas as to how you can get in better touch with your supply chain, come up with your own path, your own process, all of that. Maybe we can help inspire some of that. And from there, I'll pass it off to Kevin.
Yeah, so sorry for my accent. I'm half French, half Sri Lankan. That's the reason why. So to begin with, my journey starts by understanding who I am. My father is Sri Lankan, my mom is French. I grew up in France, and I had always that problematic so who I am. Am I French? Am I Sri Lankan? And I grew up in a Sri Lankan culture that was pretty strong. So been to New York, studied gemology, become a gemologist from GIA, and came back to Paris. Worked for a gemstone dealer for a few months. Then I realized, wow, is it the way that this whole industry is? Finding only the top quality gemstone, getting from a supplier in Bangkok and supplying Place Vendôme? No, that was not the idea. The idea was to, okay, let's reward and let's go to Sri Lanka and let's learn about my own culture and figure it out my way. So then I realized, okay, now it's a serious game, serious, let's say, time for me. How I understand my own culture and how I can apply it to my industry. And so I start my journey to learn how to buy gemstone. And it took me about 10 years. Then I start to supply again some companies abroad from Sri Lanka. And then I realized, is it really my added value? And it was not, because I figured out that my people were not recognized. My people means the people at the source. And so spend a couple of time in Ratnapura and meet the community, spend time with them, and realize that, okay, there is quite a lot to figure it out here, not only about the gemstone, but about the culture, then the custom, then the community, and the consequence of the whole concept. And then I talked with Jason, and I was like, okay, you know what? I think we have a new definition of the 4 C's. Four C's in the sense of, you know what I'm talking about, the color, the clarity, the carat, and the cut. So that's where we get together and we find out that, okay, let's create that concept and develop Peacock, the origin of gemstone. So then we decided to go to Sri Lanka and figured out how we can expose that to the industry.
What we really came to realize was it all comes down to people, right? The relationships that we create, and the idea that, we're going to bring products to market, and the connection is all the way back to the original source. So yeah, it comes back to people and relationships. And
yeah, so then getting together also make us understood that more than anything, we had the philosophy of how we see this industry is a bit different. Jason told me one time, he said, like, look, I need you to introduce you to Mark. He used to be my student, and he never been to Sri Lanka. And I said, okay, so he's into the jewelry industry. He's dealing with gemstone. He never been to Sri Lanka? How is that possible? For me, the concept was not right. And so Mark came to Sri Lanka, and that was his first trip outside the US. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I went to New Approach school, and that's where I met Jason. And this concept to me has been drilled into my head since day one, because it's make what you want, you know? It's people first and relationship first, and everything else will follow. So when this came to fruition, and it was like, let's go to Sri Lanka to do this thing, it made sense, because that's the whole thing. We're gonna go form these relationships, and we're gonna go see what these people are doing. And it was very different, you know, when you come to a show or an event, or even, you know, the streets of Ratnapura and stuff. They're very different than being there and being with the people. We stayed with Sri Lankan families that are there. We ate their food. We stayed with them. We traveled with them. It was something that I was not expecting, landing there, and the first thing that I felt was acceptance and community. It's very much a conglomerate of a whole. It's
an interesting concept, because when you learn about other cultures, it's not the same when you go from location to location.
Correct.
And it's really important to understand, you know, where the people are coming from in order for us to figure out how can we participate, how can we be a part of it, right? So the concept that we came up with was, so we retail jewelry, and we're not bringing any of that up here because it isn't really relative to the speech, but a specific number of pieces of rough, certifying the rough, and then releasing that to a specific number of pieces of jewelry, signed and numbered, inscribing the finished gemstone, that's what it is. In this case, we're using sapphire, but it could be anything. And then having it so that the end consumer, we brought a film crew with us. We did a documentary film, and we have a book that goes along with each piece of jewelry. So at any point in the process, if you take the inscription off the stone, you can type it into a database, and you can see a 360 video of the rough, a 360 video of the cut, the certificates that came along with it, the documentary film that went along with it, the ebook that was stated. So wherever it goes, this can follow, given that someone doesn't polish the serial number off the side of the stone. But with that, we decided that we were going to put a big portion of the proceeds directly back to the area that we're sourcing the gemstones from. We don't have an exact, say, percentage at this point, but we will define it, and we'll define it publicly, and we'll post it publicly on our website online. And so if you have, just make up a number, if you have 100 pieces and they're $1,000 a piece, and we're going to put 10% of that back into the community, it's very easy when you just look at it from the simplest form of how to do this and how to be completely transparent with where it's going and what we're actually doing. We have very small, limited number of, say, products that we're going to release on a very exclusive basis. And with that, we can even choose some of our, say, end consumers. We're not B2B, we're B2C, right? And we can actually, every year, from a series of, say, 500 pieces that we sell, we can choose to sponsor 5 or 6 of those people and invite them to Sri Lanka with us, and to physically go on the ground and see a part of this community and the parts that we're trying to help. And it's not just Sri Lanka, that just so happened to be the region of the world that we chose to do. But whether you're going to Vietnam or any different area, I think it's important first to really understand where you're going, the community, what that community needs, and how you can bring it all the way through to show to the customer. In my opinion, the general public doesn't have any connection to understanding where any of these pieces come from. It's very difficult. A sapphire and diamond ring. Where's a sapphire from? Oh, it's from, I don't know, Zimbabwe, I'm making this up. But with that, it takes all the personalized effort of the whole adventure. And from what I witnessed, along with my partners, is that adventure can be really quite beautiful. And it's information that I think the customer base desires. The reality is, at the end of the day, especially with, say, more specialized pieces, the customer, they can buy from anyone in the world. They can go to Palace Vendôme, they can go to New York, they can buy from any of the big brands, they can spend their money with any of those companies. End of the day, they choose to spend it with, say, an artisan because they want to support their work. That's an important piece to this. And directly being involved in the community, we're looking at a number of different things, working with local orphanages, scholarship fund, water treatment. It's kind of all over the board, but the three, say, executives, we took it upon ourselves that we're going to be responsible to physically do it. We're not donating to another organization. We're not, bringing anyone from the outside in. Instead of, say, going to a standard show to source our materials, we're going to the source, and then we're returning to that source continuously over and over again to support the community that supports us.
To follow on what Jason just said, on an industry point of view, today, from my own experience, when I supply cut and polished gemstone to any of the brand that I'm working with, the problematic is that they don't have a way to sell that is a storytelling for the gemstone. They have it for the jewelry with like a collection that tell a story, but they don't have anything based on the color stone, and that's a big problem because then they face customer that ask them, oh, look, you know what, I have a pair of earrings, yeah, but one stone is from Sri Lanka, one stone is from Madagascar. Wow. Then the customer doesn't want to buy it. Why? Because they don't have the same origin. Okay, so how to explain, how to educate a customer and tell him that this is pretty much impossible to do that. It's like winning to the lottery to find 5-carat pair of sapphires from Sri Lanka, and it's really expensive. So we believe that the way we want to introduce it to our clients is by explaining to them that not only we are rich to have them access to the gemstone, but also to the people who first touch it. We don't try to tell the customer that they know the origin. No, that's not true. We don't want to lie. As the two speakers that were here before us, it's about the truth. It's about transparency. It's about telling them that not such a thing today in our industry that we can exactly say, okay, this is from 100% from Sri Lanka and this is 100% from Madagascar. And we all face that issue with certification. So let's be transparent about that and explain to our customer that why focusing on origin when you can focus on at least the beginning of it, which is the people involved in this industry, and that's the missing point. I remember the moment that so this picture is for me something very important. Not only have been able to share with my friends and my two partners, my culture, but seeing how they interact with the Sri Lankan and the Sri Lankan culture really touched me. I see Mark that never traveled abroad and had somehow a connection with someone that he never met before, and a Sri Lankan that probably never thought that on that day he would have met a American guy full of tattoo, and
Or even jump in the pond
or
for that
jumping
matter.
on the, yeah. I mean, it touched me to a point that because we were in the mud, at the end, this particular person asked my partner, my friend, give me your shoes, I'm going to clean it for you.
Yeah.
And that's something that, man, that's
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think we lost it a little bit. We lost it in Europe, we lost it in US. The connection between people is not here anymore.
And I think a lot of that, right? Like it's trying to put people back in the product, right? And with what Kevin said about the when we got there and meeting this gentleman, it was like we were old friends, and it was very. I mean, we did a lot with him. He showed us how to. Like, I'm in the water down there. We went down into the mine and looked at stuff, and it was, not ever doing any of that or seeing any of it or even being outside the country, and like he didn't speak a lick of English. But it was about understanding. I could see that he had our best interest at heart, and we had his best interest at heart, and we came together just like the three of us did for the love of jewelry and gemstones and the process. And these people are the same way. He not only showed us about mining and how to pan and brought us there, but he also showed us his house, and he showed us his neighbor's house, and he was very proud of everything that he did. And it was very much, this is it. It's paradise, and you're here now, and you can also enjoy that.
You did find there was a nice sapphire that you guys panned that day. Too.
Yeah, there was very nice. It was a really nice light lavender, and he kept telling me, he was like, keep sweeping. He's like, if you see one, you'll know. And I was like, okay, and I'm picking them up. I'm like this? He's like, no. I saw this beacon of like purple, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I just picked it up. He's like that. I was like, okay, cool, I got it, all right. But no, I mean, and he lit up the same way that we all did. I mean, it was a shared experience at that point. It wasn't like I found it, we found it, the team found it. It's all of that. And we got to be a part of that. They brought us into that. And I'd never seen that before, a lot of coming from the jewelry retail store industry, whatever that may be, you fall in two categories. You either want to help people or you don't, and it's split, and I'm not necessarily getting into that, but this was acceptance all the way. You're here, I'm here, we both love this thing, let's go and do it.
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, when we look at what we're doing as artists or as companies, as stores, the question should be, what else can we do, right? There's other things out there that are trying to keep the industry, the overarching idea,
I think
as
everyone's kind of
honest.
searching different routes to go as far as what transparency means.
Yeah.
I think for us, we're just,
We had fun with it and got creative.
yeah.
Like, we took a trip
We're-
instead of writing a paper.
Small business, and we're not really doing anything really fancy. We're trying to keep it really simple, and connecting with the community from our perspective, and then sharing that with the end consumer is really the name of the game.
It's so simple. It's like, if there's too much and it's hard to understand, it doesn't make sense. It's like, it really is that simple. Like,
That does require travel, right?
For sure.
But traveling to a Vegas show or a Tucson show or something else, it's another trip. That's basically what it is.
And I mean, when we went over there, like, I've got a store, I've got employees, I've got a family, 3 kids, and during the pandemic, and I did quarantine for 2 weeks, and then, got out and went on the trip. Like I took 6 weeks to go do this trip,
it was crazy.
like from my store, my family, and everything. But it was not only was it worth it, but it changed my life forever. Not even just with this stuff, but the way that I now, like I've seen more of the industry than I've ever could have possibly seen. Just seeing that other end of it and seeing where, how, why, the ins and outs of the people and the process. And I mean, you can't get clarity like that without being there and doing it, seeing it, being a part of it. And that's the important part. And then sharing that with your customer, because I'm not the cheapest company out there, and I'm the first one to admit that. People come to me because they want to support me, and they believe in the things that I believe in and the things that I'm doing. And I do stuff like this. You know, they do stuff like this. We do stuff like this. You can do stuff like this. You know, and it's about you. How do you set yourself apart?
Their own responsibility. It's our own responsibility.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to show you're responsible, you know, and get creative with doing it. Have fun. It shouldn't be, if it's work, it feels like work, you did it wrong. Make it be fun. Go sit in the pit.
Yeah.
It's great. I swear, it's amazing.
So at this point, well, why don't we go to the next? Back one.
This one.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about, say, what the
Yeah,
overall
so-
perspective?
Jason was talking about the rough sourcing. Why we decided to go with the rough sourcing and not buying directly cut and polish. The reason why is that we want to give the possibility to our customer to customize their own cut on their own. On the design that on the finished jewelry that they are inspired. So to be able to do that, the difficult point was finding rough at the right dimension to get a specific cut and polish finished product. To find rough stone that are natural, that are clean and suitable for jewelry, it's not an easy task. Today we have about 10 people within Sri Lanka on a different mining location sourcing gemstone for us on a daily basis. So basically it's like finding one rough per week. And we are not talking about a finished stone that is like 3-4 carats. We're talking about roughly a 2 carat stone, which means like talking about a rough that is like 435 carat. And it's really a challenge because being in Sri Lanka and doing the work is one thing. Having Sri Lankan help participating and helping us to find the rough is understanding first how is the everyday life. The life of Sri Lankan at the source is very much different than, when I say the source, I mean mining location. Is very different than market of cut and polish stone. For example, in Sri Lanka you have Berola, maybe some of them know this place. It's in the south of southwest of Sri Lanka, and it's a majority Muslim community living there, and they are the one basically involved into the trading of gemstone. They are also pretty much involved in most of the booths that you see here in Tucson selling gemstone. Now, that's not the only one. They are not the only community involved into gem business. In Sri Lanka, there is also the Buddhist community, the Christian community, and that's pretty much a different approach to the gemstone industry. For example, in Ratnapura, when you deal with some gem dealers, the time doesn't have any value to them. For us, there is. We have pretty much a week to work in Sri Lanka, and we don't know what to expect or what to found, but we have to follow their rhythm. And their rhythm is pretty much nothing to deal with our own expectation. We may ask for a 2 carat, 3 carat, 4 carat. That's not their concern. What their concern is, okay, spend time together, build a relationship, visit my family, visit my cousin who has a gemstone, and maybe it's good for you, maybe not. Who knows? But that's not the fact that our problematic is not their problem. So that has to be taken into consideration. So I do believe that not seeing much of European or even American in Sri Lanka, I'm there every month and for a week. I don't see much of European there and try to buy gemstone, maybe because it's too complicated, but then at the end, what's the added value that we have in the industry if it's only to buy gemstone for a gemstone dealer in Bangkok or in France or in US? For me, I don't get it. But okay, as a financial aspect to it, maybe they have they have customers that require them to supply a certain amount of gemstone every month, and the financial aspect is very important to them. Well, gemstone is not about that. I'm so sorry to express that, but gemstone is not about a financial aspect. Gemstone is about a tradition, it's about a culture. It's coming from the earth. We are not the one who decide. I mean, you can ask any of the mining people in Sri Lanka. Most of them don't even know if they will find gemstone or not, but they try their luck. So we should also try our luck and go to the source and understand. And by doing that, I'm quite convinced now that when we do good things come back to us. And that's the reason why we are here today, is to express that what we thought it was a dream actually worked out pretty well.
And I mean, it's important, you touched on it too, it's like education, right? Like when we went out there, you had said, traditions of gemstone buyers and markets and stuff, and they close at a certain time because of tradition, like before noon. And if you're there for only a week and your goal is to go and get X number of stones or a certain thing, you might go looking at gemstones afternoon. And if you do that, then it's like the majority of stuff it's different. And so I didn't know any of that stuff, but instead of going in there with an agenda, the agenda was education, right? It was going in for understanding and trying to see what it was. It's not like anybody can go there and you can go and buy stuff. Just like you can
gemstones everywhere.
Yeah. It's not about that. It's about understanding the why and the how of how they do it to get something very specific and very special. And that's what that was our entire goal to go there, was to learn how they do what they do, right? And earlier Kevin had said about the people that are there, and we're using, we're making connections with locals and stuff, and a word that you guys might know, it's like a strategic partner, right? You align yourself with other companies, groups, people as strategic partners that can help you facilitate goals that you want to facilitate, right? And so our strategic partners are these small miners and gemstone professionals and things in Sri Lanka that they are in the industry, and we're not trying to go and buy things from them. We're trying to go and have them bring us into their fold, more or less. It's a partnership. It's not you're our source. We're a team. We want to help you, and
It's not about the transaction.
yeah, it's not about transaction. It's about people. We're putting people back into the product. Like that's the answer. That's the real answer. It's about that. It's about making the connection and the
Growing together.
I mean, people buy jewelry, people make jewelry, people sell jewelry, people mine stones and metals and everything. It's people. People do all of that. We enjoy it, we sell it, everything. So let's talk about it and the people that do that stuff, because we're the ones that are actually doing all of it. It's not just a product. It's people. It's all of you. It's us. It's all of them. It's people. And somewhere along the line, that has got so muddled that it's time to bring it back. And it's fun to do that part of it.
For sure.
Right.
Next slide. Oh. So I think we probably want to do some questions.
Yeah, if anyone has
Anything else that
questions
you wanna add?
or interest to a couple of things.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to share my thoughts of the way you've redefined the four C's. I think is really awesome, and my limited exposure to you guys, it really shines through with how you guys put that out there. And Mark, you had said about it was a shared experience. When I'm grateful that I've been able to see a semi-edited version of your experience down there. It was really amazing. And when I saw, how prideful that person was, and you guys finding that sapphire in the mud at that time, it indeed was a shared experience. And the emotion that I could see evoking from both of you guys, when you get engaged to somebody, that's one of the most deepest emotions that you can possibly have with another human being. And for whatever couples in the future that are going to be blessed with purchasing from you and seeing that backstory back to that, I think it's just going to tie in beautifully, and I'm real proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been working on this project?
Ooh, 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm really excited about it.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're considering doing other sources once you get this source kind of integrated?
So we're looking at releasing our first, say, product lines over the next couple of months. And there's, from our experience in, building other businesses in the past, there's going to be some bumps in the road. So limiting that throughput and really honing the system first, at least I would say for the first 6 months to a year. After we get it smooth, have everything very clear, got to deal with the customer relations aspect of it, the customer service aspect of it, then we can look at other things. But I think right now we're super laser focused on this project, and then understanding what do we don't know, right, and how to get it smooth, and then from there we're looking to expand and see where it leads us, right?
One step
Thank
at
you.
a time.
It's really ambitious and clearly visionary. What have been the biggest challenges you faced so far?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Well, so we're not taking any investor money. We're self-funded. There's great aspects of that, and there's some challenging aspects of that as far as speed is concerned. We have offices in 3 different countries, coordinating communication, moving money between them, making sure that we're on time. I would say normal things that, of course, we would have loved to have been wrapped up in 6 months. 2 years later, looking back, sometimes the time frame that you want to execute things in, the universe decides that it's going to take a little longer than that. So I would say challenges and solving those problems is a part of kind of what each of us does in our businesses. But yeah, I would say timing, keeping the excitement, pushing forward, logistics, those sorts of things. Thank you.
Thank you for the story that you guys are telling. I think what you're doing, I think is sometimes the story that as a designer, we lack. I do a custom piece, I source a beautiful stone, but I don't necessarily always know the exact origin of the stone, how it was sourced, the people that mined it. So as I'm taking notes on what you're saying, I'm thinking, oh, they're providing this excitement and appreciation and emotion of what you do and what we do as jewelers, is that you're bringing all that emotion to the end product, and you're offering that to your client to say, look at how we did this. It's not just this beautiful piece of jewelry, but look, all this amazing backstory, and you're connecting with, you know, the culture and the people. So I think it's incredible, and I think it's what people want more and more these days.
Yeah.
They just don't want to buy the beautiful ring.
Yep.
They want to know the story. And I think for us, if we can have a deeper story to tell, it makes having the piece for a client that much more special.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question because hi guys.
Hi.
I really appreciate what you're doing as well, and I guess my main question is there's a lot of story around the gems that you guys have been talking about, but like my main reason I know Jason is more about and Mark is like the craftsmanship in the jewelry. So are you guys also like making that a big part of the narrative, like where it's being made?
For sure.
And all that.
So definitely the gemstone, so there's 4 phases in our product, the whole project overall. Right now we're on 80% through phase 4. Phase 1 is Kevin in Sri Lanka, right? Phase 2 focuses more on the manufacturing. So each aspect of it, I mean, you know me pretty well. For those of you that don't, I nerd out pretty hard on the way that I make my jewelry, our designs. So if you can imagine, limited edition of the same product, right? So a ring, right? Same ring, 250 pieces, right? Signed and numbered. The gemstones that we get, whatever colors that they are, say sapphire in this instant, we have the backstory of the sapphires and the cutting and the processing and all of that. But then there's also the metal work. So using specialized platinums or really high quality diamond melee to accent the piece, and the metal work that goes into it, making sure that it's say high jewelry hits all of the marks of technically being acceptable in a high jewelry quality criteria. It's all of those aspects, and that's all of those aspects is what we are documenting in the video and the book and providing to the customer.
And it's important to remember that like the stuff that we're talking here about the gemstones is a result of documentation that Jason is already used to doing. So that stuff it was gemstone to finished good documentation, and then now with Kevin, we can go from the mine to the gemstone to finished good. So the gemstone to finished good process hasn't changed at all. If anything, we've added, using that as a template, we've added the gemstone or the mine to gemstone to that already manufacturing document that is, I don't want to say.
Yeah. Just expanded.
It just comes with the process of.
Yeah. And I'm sure if we had this conversation 3 years from now, we would evolve and include more. We're just adding, as we learn, as we grow, as we get understanding. We're looking at all kinds of technologies to add that can come at future times. It all just adds to the same craftsmanship, the stones, the sourcing, the materials, the labor, all of that stuff. Yeah.
What are some of your strategies for educating the end consumer? We're all here, we all care, but we're in the industry, we care, we know about these topics.
Right.
And I guess, I would imagine a huge part of it is relying on, the retail professional to put that story out there and make people understand. But what are some of your more overreaching strategies to get it beyond the industry and into the general consensus?
Right. So thank you for your question.
Good one.
Our actual product, it's not a wholesale product. It's direct to the end consumer. That's why we're not showing any of the product that we have here. We're talking more about kind of the strategy of how that we did our sourcing. I can tell you that our ring box is about the size of a VCR. It's huge. It comes with a book. As far as the information that we start leaking, so the spotlight isn't actually on us. One of the things that we did when we were in Sri Lanka is we had our film crew interview a dozen of the actual artisanal miners, and we didn't ask them about their job. We ask them about their families and, you know, their lives and what they do. More of the spotlight is on them because they're the beginning of this process. And so, for instance, you know, you do the unboxing experience. The unboxing experience, we spend a lot of time in, say, engineering. You know, the box that you get, first of all, no one would ever guess that there's a ring inside of it. And then as you open it, you unveil the book, you lift out the book, and then there's the ring that's underneath of it, you know, in a separate box. As you go through it, with that experience, it reveals each of the steps that follow, right? So I would say, you know, the video clips of our documentary film that we'll start sprinkling out there and the marketing firms that we're using, we're not making mass manufactured jewelry. There's not enough pieces of it, right? We're talking about very limited edition collections of 200, 500, 1,000, maybe, right? Because we can actually keep our hands around it. We can actually have very, very...
Each of us can be involved.
Yeah,
in
at
the
every
process.
step, and we can control and really be confident in the pieces that we're giving to our customers. So the way that we're kind of viewing it is those customers that are looking for this, there aren't many people out there doing it. So they'll find us out of the default, especially, you know, between social media, you know, internet searches, you know, positioning ourselves on there properly to reveal ourselves to that specific group that are desiring this.
Not a clue.
Is there a 16-year-old?
Yeah, exactly. I'm technologically challenged. I apologize for that. Well, if it's a call you have to take, you know.
No. You just don't want to close. Do that. There we go.
One of those guys should know.
By the way, we can just talk now and just
Well, they're
start talking
working away
this
on the
from-
laptop, so
Alright.
hopefully, would you check and see if they're ready? We're ready to go.
Doesn't look like it, though.
I know. That's what I don't
Yeah,
know.
let's see where we are here. I know what to do.
We're just waiting for audio visual to give us the thumbs up, and we'll get started.
Let's see if I have internet here. If I don't have internet, it's even easier. I may need my phone back, Rivka, because it's not connected. You have internet here somehow? AGTA? Yeah.
It was?
You have a password for AGTA here? So do you have internet here? Do you have internet connectivity?
No, it's just staff under TCC_staff. There's no password for the Wi-Fi.
Love you. I'm there. I'm there.
Definitely one of the things.
What I'm going to simply do is I go into Google and I'll ask. I'll say, how do you do this? I got ChatGPT too, but it's pretty
I
cool.
have this and he has this.
Behind it.
And about like reaching the people and stuff, it's like you can only educate one person at a time. You can only educate the people who want to be educated. So that's why it comes from the book. All that documentation, that's the education.
Also a connection directly to us.
For sure. I mean, that is it. That's all you can hope for, is one person at a time. And hope that they might tell one or two people, right? And it snowballs. That's how ideas get started, and that's how trends and traditions get passed down. And that's really what we're trying to instill in the group, right? Is what else can you do? What can you do for your customers, your communities?
We hope you come up with better ideas that we've never thought of.
This is how we did evolution.